whereas when some of us were children, it was very easy to go outside and play, and there wasn't a whole lot of structure to it. You made up your own kind of structure, but there may be less outside play because of that. Parents don't have time and are spending less time with kids. And we kind of hate to hear things like that, but that seems to be something that's occurring, and it's across all economic and racial backgrounds. It's not just low-income children where parents are spending less time. And parents aren't spending that time going on picnics and going on outings and to parks and so on, like my family did when I was growing up. Some other things, the unsafe design of communities, lack of sidewalks, busy streets. There's all kinds of things like that inhibit the play outside. Social pressures from other parents, and that deals with some of the issues related to fear. And I raise the question, do we live in a more dangerous society today? Maybe, but there's some suggestion that there's a lot more predators online than there are in the outdoors. And that's something we don't think about always a whole lot in relationship to some of these kinds of issues. Boring outdoor environments and choices. Again, if we've got the very structured, very manicured, very organized places to play, sometimes those aren't nearly as interesting to children or to adults as they might be. Risk management and litigation concerns, again, this is a whole topic in and of itself as well in terms of how much can we let children have the freedom to play without being concerned they're going to get hurt, and lawsuits and things like that. Cut back on school extracurricular activities is another criticism that's been labeled, and again, in some cases it's more competition with elite sports as opposed to giving kids lots of other opportunities to play. Or the biggest reason probably relates to this, the screen time issue, as far as what's going on with that. And yeah, these kinds of things are probably quite exciting, but there are other kinds of alternatives, and one such alternative is, actually this isn't a real good picture, but this is evidently there's some kind of a structure that's now available where kids can actually ride a bike, be physically active, and there's a screen in front that simulates the moves and all those kinds of things that go on. Well, that's great in terms of health, but I'm not sure how much it connects kids to nature in the long run. I'm not saying it's bad, it's probably better than nothing, but there's something about this experience, this kind of artificial experience, that I'm not sure it's going to reconnect children to the outdoors. Well, Americans spend on average only 19 minutes each day in LTPA, leisure time physical activity. And that's a pretty low number, and it has some pretty serious implications. I suspect some of you have seen the slides I'm about to show, but what they are is a demonstration of how the obesity trends among U.S. adults have changed in the last 21, 22 years. So you can see Indiana there in 1985, 10 to 14% of the population was having about of greater than 30 or roughly 30 pounds overweight. So 86. 87, 88, 91. Now we've got states that have got 15 to 19%. Indiana, though, still hanging in there at 10 to 14. Oh, 1993 jumped over into the next group of states. Oh, now we got some states that are going over that 20%. Guess what? Indiana was one of the leaders in making that jump over. Whoops. I'm going to get this to come down. Okay. Got some It went back down, right, you're right. Oh, back up again, 2,000. So now it's still above 20,000 again. Okay, 2001. Now we have one state, Mississippi, that's now gone to 25% or greater than 25% of the population in that area. 2002, a couple more states. 2003, Indiana. Leading the country again on that particular thing. I'm not here to bash Indiana. It just happens to be this is what's on these set of slides. But then you go back again, so I don't know what's going on exactly in this state. 2005, 25 to 19%, and 2006 is the last year. Now we're seeing a couple of states with over 30% in that category. So this is in 21 years, this incredible change in the overweight and obesity rates of U.S. adults in the country. And that's pretty important to recognize as we think about health and wellness and issues like that. And there certainly is a fair amount of research that suggests that people who use the outdoors tend to be have less issues with overweight and obesity. Children that live closer to parks are more likely to not be overweight. So there's some real connections that appear to be there in regard to some of these kinds of statistics. So that's sort of the physical health side of potential problems with people not being connected to nature. There's also the mental health aspects as well. And there's some interesting research here that has shown research in hospitals, patients whose rooms were exposed to landscape scenery recovered quicker than those who didn't. People who were exposed to nature recover from stress quicker. And viewing gardens or vistas reduced blood pressure, increased brain activity control, mood elevation. And so that's pretty significant kind of research that suggests some of the mental health benefits of nature. As well as some other research by Kaplan found that simply viewing natural scenes, even photographs, has positive psychological effects on the viewer. And that restorative environments are really important in terms of a study was done with 12,000 office workers that found that views of trees, lawns, and bushes had a lower frustration rate. So the mental value of this as well. Again, I'm not so sure that I think that if we all had photographs everywhere, this would solve the problem. But photographs of nature areas certainly do give us something that assists with issues of mental health. Well, I just want to share briefly with you some research that I'm involved in doing right now. The question, is nature part of the meanings of parks? I'm working with a colleague from Oklahoma who did a project. It was actually one to promote state parks in the state of Oklahoma, but they asked people to draw pictures of what parks meant to them. And they end up with over 200 pictures from children as young as 6 years old all the way up to adults. They actually had an individual who was 95 years old who drew a picture of what parks mean to them. And so we're trying to analyze these. We're really only beginning the process. So I just picked out a couple to show you. But it's pretty interesting the way these are first graders, how two different first graders viewed parks in terms of what parks mean to them. And there's the very much certainly physical activity involved, but the playground, no trees, although there is sunshine in that picture. And then there's also the picture of being really nature related. Another example, and these are kids that were I think fourth graders who drew these two pictures. One is of a dune buggy, and that's what parks meant, and one is the fish. Again, I don't know exactly what all this means yet. I'll hopefully be reporting on that in the near future in terms of the kinds of things that seems to be going on, and we're looking at it in terms of age differences, gender issues, racial issues, a number of factors as far as what seems to be the kinds of things that are coming out. But it was interesting to us as we've looked at this how much nature is or isn't a part of what parks mean. The other